Hi, my name is Kevin Jarrett, and for my UF 200 project paper, I decided to focus on the importance of propaganda and how effective it can be in a positive or negative light. Today, we're mostly going to be focusing on the negative aspect of it and how it can really ruin people's lives if it's used effectively. One of the most famous uses of propaganda effectively in the real world would be in World War II with Germany and Adolf Hitler pushing their agenda of hatred towards people of the Jewish faith, people of color, and homosexuals, just to name a few. And they were extremely effective in this, and they reached millions of people all across Europe and were able to get some people to think the way that they're thinking and um, just kind of alienate that group to such a point that a lot were killed off, which was a horrible thing. The U.S. also used propaganda in World War II, but not in a way to further any hatred or anything like that towards any certain groups. They more used it to try and get people to be more patriotic and accepting of the war and trying to get them to back the U.S. in the war, pretty much. And that worked as well. Not as effective as Germany had with what they wanted, but they definitely got more people to back them in World War II. Um, but as effective as it can be in real life, in comic books, it can be just as, if not more, effective. And the one example I wanted to talk about today is Spider-Man, Peter Parker. He, in my mind, is the most ridiculed and mistrusted superhero in all of comics, and that's basically because of J. Jonah Jameson, who is the editor in chief of the Daily Bugle, and for years and years and years, he was just ridiculing Spider-Man, plastering his face on the front page with headlines that made people question if Spider-Man was really there to fight for the people of New York and their safety, or if he was just some juvenile kid just swinging around causing property damage all over the city while somehow also stopping people at the same time. Um, the comic books I read were Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. I read the fourth and the sixth issue, which focused mainly on J. Jonah Jameson and his relationship with Spider-Man. And in the first comic, he was actually fired from his job at the Daily Bugle because finally his coworkers started to realize his obsession with taking down Spider-Man and getting rid of him and trying to paint him in a negative light. And that led him to create his own website called threatsandmenaces.com. And he just continued to use that to slander Spider-Man and get people to take his side on his idea that Spider-Man is a danger to the community. And through those two issues, Spider-Man is slandered in a way that the entire U.S. thinks that he's a traitor and gave government secrets and shield secrets away to supervillains just based off of some photos that were taken of him. And the photos were taken while he was fighting them, but the people that took them painted them in a way that the audience that they were giving it out to were basically thinking that he was a traitor to the U.S. And after all that, it led to J. Jonah Jameson having a one-on-one interview with Spider-Man in exchange for him not writing, slandering, talking about Spider-Man for 1 year, so an entire year without talking about him, which I know it sounds pretty much impossible for someone like him, but that was the deal. And through that talk, he was able to. They were basically be able to get their issues out there about why they don't like each other, and they honestly came to a bit of an understanding, and that wasn't until Peter took his mask off and showed Jonah who he was, because Jonah basically just thought he was a coward who stood behind a mask because his wife was murdered by a dude with a mask on. So he thinks everyone with masks are a menace to society. So that's why he was doing that with Spider-Man. But at that point, he started to realize that he was in the wrong. J. Jonah Jameson was in the wrong for most of his life about Spider-Man, and all the things that he was saying about him was untrue, and it led to a lot of people distrusting Spider-Man and not really wanting anything to do with Spider-Man. And it finally had caught on to different media outlets because threatsandmenaces.com was not the only website or media outlet that posted that those pictures and that story of Spider-Man. And he finally realized at that point the dangers that using um, stories like that, propaganda like stories to try to get people to see his point of view while leaving out truths and trying to misguide people. Um, he saw what a danger that could be to Spider Man. And pretty much by the end of that, he was speechless. He didn't know what to say. And that just kind of goes to show how powerful propaganda can be. And if it's used in the correct way, how it can really ruin someone's life, because Spider-Man was seriously thinking about quitting being a superhero because of all the things that were being said about him. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Thank you for listening.